What if the family of the man you love turned their backs on your relationship, declaring it unacceptable forever? What do you do when that rejection forces you to question your own worth and future? And how does achieving success against all odds bring those same people back into your life, seeking forgiveness? Gabriel first saw Cruz across the crowded lecture hall at NYU, the kind of moment that feels scripted yet impossibly real. It was the second week of grad school, fall in New York, painting the campus in crisp golds and reds. Gabriel, 27, had just moved from a quiet suburb outside Chicago, chasing a master's in digital media after years of feeling invisible in his own skin. Cruz sat 3 rows ahead, shoulders relaxed, dark hair catching the light as he laughed at something the professor said. When their eyes met during a group discussion, Gabriel felt the pull immediately, quiet but undeniable, like the first warm breeze after a long winter. They talked after class, simple things at first, favorite films, the best coffee spots in the village. Cruz was 28, born and raised in a small Texas town before college pulled him north. He worked part-time at a tech startup while finishing his MBA, and his smile carried the easy confidence of someone who had learned to navigate 2 worlds. Within weeks, they were sharing late-night walks along the Hudson, hands brushing until one night Gabriel reached out and Cruz didn't pull away. Their first kiss happened on a bench in Washington Square Park, city lights reflecting in Cruz's eyes, and Gabriel knew this was different. This was home. Months slipped by in a haze of stolen weekends and whispered promises. They cooked together in Gabriel's tiny Brooklyn apartment, argued over playlists, and built a life that felt solid. Gabriel introduced Cruz to his chosen family, his best friend Maya, a queer artist who had become his anchor after he came out at 22. Cruz brought Gabriel into his circle of ambitious friends, people who celebrated them without question. For the first time, Gabriel believed love could exist without apology. Then came Thanksgiving. Cruz wanted Gabriel to meet his parents. They're traditional, he warned gently on the flight to Austin, but they love me. They'll come around. Gabriel squeezed his hand, heart hopeful. The house in the quiet Texas suburb smelled of pecan pie and wood polish. Cruz's mother, Elena, hugged him stiffly. His father, Miguel, a retired contractor, offered a firm handshake but kept his distance. The dinner table conversation stayed polite until dessert, when Miguel asked about Gabriel's plans with women. The room went still. Cruz tried to steer it back, but Elena's eyes filled with quiet panic. "We raised you right," she said softly to her son. "This isn't the life we pictured." Gabriel left the house that night feeling the first crack in the foundation. On the plane home, Cruz kept repeating, "They just need time." But Gabriel heard the tremor in his voice and wondered how much time love could afford. Back in New York, the rejection lingered like smoke. Cruz's phone calls home grew tense. His parents sent articles about traditional values and suggested therapy. Gabriel tried to stay strong, throwing himself into his thesis on inclusive storytelling for streaming platforms. Yet every time Cruz canceled a weekend visit because mom's not feeling well, the doubt grew. One rainy evening in their favorite cafe, Cruz finally said the words Gabriel had feared. "They say they'll never accept this. Never. They want me to come home alone for Christmas." The argument that followed was raw. Gabriel accused Cruz of choosing family over them. Cruz countered that walking away from his parents felt like betraying everything he was raised to honor. They didn't break up that night, but something shifted. Gabriel started working late at the university media lab, building a portfolio that could open doors beyond academia. He told himself success would prove the doubters wrong. Cruz supported him outwardly, but Gabriel saw the exhaustion in his eyes. Winter break arrived. Cruz flew to Texas alone. Gabriel stayed in Brooklyn, spending Christmas with Maya and a bottle of cheap wine. The silence from Cruz's family was deafening. When Cruz returned, he carried new tension in his shoulders. "They're praying for me," he confessed one night, voice cracking. Gabriel held him, but inside he felt the slow erosion of the man he loved. By spring, small fights became routine. Gabriel's internal voice grew louder. "If they can't accept me, maybe I'm the problem." One April morning, Gabriel made a decision. He applied for an internship at a rising tech firm in San Francisco focused on queer media representation. The offer came fast. When he told Cruz, the look in his partner's eyes was a mixture of pride and heartbreak. "I want you to go," Cruz said. "But I don't know if I can follow right now." They spent their last night together in quiet tears, promising to stay connected. Gabriel boarded the plane feeling both liberated and hollow. San Francisco greeted Gabriel with fog and possibility. The internship at Lumina Studios turned into a full-time role within 6 months. He poured every ounce of pain into his work, creating campaigns that celebrated stories like his own. Late nights became normal, weekends vanished. He built a small team, mentored younger queer creators, and slowly the scars from Texas began to fade beneath layers of purpose. Cruz visited twice that first year. Their time together was tender but fragile, like handling cracked glass. Phone calls grew shorter. Gabriel heard the strain in Cruz's voice when he mentioned family dinners where his name was never spoken. "They still say the same thing," Cruz admitted during one painful conversation. "Never." Gabriel stopped pressing. Instead, he focused on the next milestone, pitching his own short-form series about chosen family. The project gained traction online, views climbing into the millions. For the first time, strangers messaged him saying his work gave them courage. Yet success tasted bittersweet. Gabriel dated casually, never seriously, because no one measured up to the memory of Cruz. Nights alone in his Potrero Hill apartment, he replayed the Texas dinner, wondering if he had fought hard enough. Maya flew out once, reminding him, "You didn't lose yourself. You're finding the version they tried to erase." Those words became his mantra. By the end of year 2, Lumina promoted him to creative director. His series won a regional award, and suddenly industry doors opened. Investors noticed. Gabriel incorporated his own production company, Echoes Media, with a mission to tell unfiltered queer stories. The day the first major funding round closed, he stood on the Golden Gate Bridge at sunset and allowed himself one quiet victory cry. The boy rejected in Texas was gone. In his place stood a man who had chosen himself. Success snowballed. Echoes Media signed a distribution deal with a major streaming service. Gabriel's face appeared in trade magazines. His story of rising from heartbreak featured in interviews. He bought a small house in the hills with a view of the bay, hired an assistant, and started mentoring at-risk queer youth through a nonprofit he co-founded. The work filled the empty spaces, yet quiet moments still brought Cruz to mind. They had drifted into something like friendship, birthday texts, occasional calls. Cruz had stayed in New York, climbing the corporate ladder at the same startup. His parents' pressure never eased. They introduced him to nice girls at church events. Gabriel never asked for details. He told himself he had moved on. Then came the viral moment. Echoes released a documentary short about adult children of conservative families finding peace. Gabriel narrated it himself, voice steady as he described his own journey without naming Cruz. The piece exploded, millions of views in days. Offers poured in, speaking engagements, a book deal, even a guest spot on a late-night show. Gabriel stood backstage before his first major TEDx talk, heart-pounding, and realized the boy who once begged for acceptance had become the man others now looked to for strength. Across the country, Cruz watched the talk alone in his apartment. His parents called the next day, voices tight with something new, curiosity mixed with unease. They had seen the video. They asked questions they had never asked before. Cruz didn't know how to answer. The call came on a Tuesday morning while Gabriel was reviewing scripts in his sunlit office. The number was unfamiliar, area code Austin. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Elena's voice, older now, cracked on the line. "Gabriel, it's Cruz's mom. We saw everything you've done. We were wrong. We need to talk." He sat stunned. Miguel got on the phone next, gruff but humbled. "We thought we were protecting our son. Turns out we were breaking two hearts. Can we meet?" Gabriel's first instinct was anger. Years of silence, a feeling erased. But the man he had become paused. He agreed to a video call that weekend. Cruz called immediately after, voice shaking. "I didn't know they would reach out. I'm sorry for everything." They talked for hours, the old connection flickering back to life. Gabriel flew to New York 2 weeks later. The reunion with Cruz was careful, full of tentative touches and long silences. Love had never left. It had simply waited. The family meeting happened in a neutral cafe in Austin. Elena cried. Miguel admitted the church teachings that once guided them now felt too narrow. They spoke of regret, of watching Gabriel's success and realizing their son had lost something precious. Gabriel listened without interruption, then shared his truth, not to punish, but to heal. "I never wanted to take Cruz from you," he said quietly. "I only wanted to be allowed to love him." Healing was not instant. Weeks turned into months of careful conversations, shared meals, and small gestures. Elena sent Gabriel a care package for his birthday. Miguel asked for recommendations on books about queer lives. Cruz moved to San Francisco, taking a remote role so they could rebuild side by side. Echoes Media thrived, now with a new series inspired by their story, anonymous but honest. One evening on their deck overlooking the bay, Cruz took Gabriel's hand. "They still have work to do," he said, "but they're trying. And I'm done letting fear decide for us." Gabriel leaned into him. the city lights below mirroring the peace he had fought for. The rejection that once defined him had become the catalyst for everything he now held dear. Years later, at a family gathering in Texas, Elena hugged Gabriel without hesitation. Miguel raised a toast to the man who showed us love has no limits. The journey had been long, painful, and beautiful. Gabriel looked at Cruz across the table and understood. Sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who eventually teach you how strong you truly are. In this story, rejection became the forge that shaped unbreakable strength, and success proved louder than prejudice. The lesson is simple yet profound. Stay true to your heart. Build your own light when others try to dim it. And remember that even the hardest hearts can soften when they witness genuine growth. Love doesn't always win instantly, but persistence and self-worth can rewrite endings no one saw coming. Choose yourself first. The rest has a way of following.